Hi, my name is McKenna. I have been here a full year at Journey, and I am the receptionist here, and I assist with answering phone calls, helping the advisor with any requests that they have, and I also assist in any operations projects that we have going on. A little bit about myself is that I'm from South Jordan, Utah. I moved here last year to be with my husband, and I graduated in 2024 with a bachelor's degree with personal financial planning. And to start off our presentation today, we are going to be talking about travel and leisure in retirement. Travel and leisure in retirement, I wanted to give an example of those of a couple who actually booked 51 cruises in a row once when they retired because they found that it was cheaper than living in a retirement home, and it also fit them and their personality and how they like to travel. So why travel in retirement? Well, you have more freedom and more time. You have more flexible schedule. You get the exposure to different cultures. It creates those connections with the people that you travel with or the people that you meet while traveling. You create those new experiences and new memories as well. And you have been working, everyone works until they get retired, right? And so you finally are able to stop and do the things that you've always wanted to do due to your more flexible schedule. It is now your time to stop working and start enjoying. And I wanted to jump into what travel identity is and why it is important and the aspects of travel identity. So, your travel identity, what it is it takes your personality, the way you like to travel, the things you like to do while traveling and on your trips, and it puts it all together into discovering kind of how you like to go about traveling. And why you should know your travel identity is it creates a more fulfilled experience. You are intentionally planning what you want to do and why you want to do the things that you're doing. It helps you save money and time by spending your money and your time on the things you actually want to go out and do. It creates this deeper satisfaction. You have better travel memories, and have it does implement a higher enjoyment. So there are four different types of travel identity. You have the explorer, learner, relaxer, and connector. To start off with the explorer, these people are more adventurous. They like a little bit of a challenge and they like to challenge themselves. They are experience seekers. They like the unique destinations and they are spontaneous. So, some trips that this person may take would be off roading at the national parks. They would enjoy backpacking through Europe, maybe snorkeling with sharks, or they just enjoy those more thriller traveling trips. And then you have a learner, and this person likes to discover the unknown. They like to be educated or get a little bit of knowledge from their trip. They plan with a purpose. So they plan where they want to go, why they want to go there, maybe the food that they want to eat, the historical destinations that they want to take a look at. They are very curious as to where they're going and what is there that they can be able to explore. They also enjoy depth over speed, so they prefer the information that is gathered rather than go, go, go. And the trip this person might take, would be historical tours, maybe museums, or they want to go visit the ancient ruins in Greece. They go to an archaeologist exploration in Egypt, things like that. And then you have the relaxer. A relaxer enjoys comfort over and simplicity. They love rest and renewal. They prefer the peaceful environments and value leisure over exploration. And this person avoids itineraries. They like to go at their own pace, and this person would this person would prefer to travel on cruises, go to all-inclusive resorts. They prefer those spa retreats. So someone who likes to unwind on their on their trip. And then you have the connectors. The connectors are those who value quality time. They seek shared experiences. They are energized by social interaction. They enjoy meeting the locals and they prefer group travel. And when I think of a connector, I think of those who are extroverts. So those who get their energy from interacting with others. And a trip this person might take would be those group tours or group experiences, a cultural cooking class, the family reunions, things like that. But where should you start? Well, you should self reflect. So look at where you have been in the past of all your trips and think about your worst trip and your favorite trip, either and what you were doing, why you were doing it, why it was the worst, or why it was the best. We have a quiz on our website. I have a link on the next slide to kind of show you guys where to go to take a quiz to find out your travel identity. Maybe you take those easy trips first. So that means you would take things that are all planned for you, all ready to go. You don't have to do that much work. So, for example, a cruise or those all inclusive resorts. So, you would start with a relaxer, and that way you can be able to go out and do things if you want to, kind of explore or learn about the place that you're in. Maybe you do hybrid trips, so you could backpack through Europe, which would be an explorer identity, and then while you're backpacking, you could stop at those historical sites which would be more of a learner identity. And then intentionally plan, think about the hobbies that you do. If you are more of a relaxer or explorer in your own home, think about what you like to do and intentionally plan your trip. And then this is where, so you would just look up on either Google or Safari, journeyretirement.com/travel hyphen identity to take our quiz that we have created to figure out kind of what identity you are. And for those who are more visual learners, I wanted to give this kind of triangle visual of which identity you might lean towards if you don't know. And so if you tend to be more active and you like to spend a little bit more money, maybe you lean towards an explorer. While if you like to spend a ton of time planning and taking the time to visit where you're going, and these typically do take a little bit more money, is you lean towards a learner. And then those who like to be less active and spend less time planning, you lean towards a relaxer. And then a connector, they're kind of their own because uh, they care more about who they're with than what they're doing. And I wanted to jump into why plan your trip, why why planning is important. And I understand that sometimes unplanning can be fun. You just jump in and you go do whatever. And then, but those who prefer to plan rather than unplan feel those unplanners, 43% of them miss out on either the experiences or the things that were offered to them. They spend 23% more on average in their expenses. The planners spend 30 to 40% less if they do plan out their costs and expenses. And then 1 in 4 admit to regretting that they wish that they planned more before they took their trip. And so I wanted to dive a little deeper into the planners versus unplanners and kind of throw out a couple of statistic numbers between those two. So the first one is time spent planning on the trip. So for a planned person, they typically plan less than 1 hour while they're on their trip, and then an unplanned person spends 1 to 2 hours or even more trying to figure out what to do, where to go, where to eat, things like that. And then their satisfaction rating. Planners actually tend to have a higher satisfaction rating than unplanners. Those planned people actually receive a 8.6 out of 10 satisfaction on how they enjoyed their trip. And then an unplanned person is about a 6.7 out of 10, which is significantly lower of satisfaction than what you could receive. and then the cost. We did talk about the cost a little bit earlier. However, I wanted to give a more accurate example of a planned person and how they spend approximately 15% on their expenses more than what they planned. And then an unplanned person spends double or more. So they spend 30% or more on their trip. And an example of this would be, let's say you are budgeting for a $5,000 trip. And you go in and you plan everything. You plan where you're going to go, the excursions you're going to take, the food you're going to eat, maybe some souvenirs, things like that. And you you might spend a little over, so if this is the accurate number of 15%, which is, you would spend around $750 more than what you actually plan. And that's just an average. So some spend less than that. And then an unplanned person, you don't plan what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what souvenirs you want. You don't budget out your costs. You actually would spend $1,500 more, which is that 30% of the 5,000 that you budgeted for. And then missed experiences. I wanted to give a little story that I read of this guy who booked an all inclusive resort and just not knowing that there was activities, experiences, food that was for free for him. He just thought that the hotel and the pool was all that he could do. So when he wanted to go snorkeling, he actually paid to go snorkeling, not knowing that what was included was he could have gone snorkeling, paddleboarding, there's nightly entertainment, he could have done salsa dancing lessons. I read that he could have jumped into. However, not knowing and not planning what was offered to him, he missed out on all those experiences. So taking a planned traveler, they miss less than 10% of those experiences that are offered to them and included in their package if they do an all-inclusive resort. And then an unplanned person misses out on approximately 40% of the experiences that are offered to them. And that could also increase your expenses of not knowing what is free to you. And then I wanted to jump into leisure and leisure in retirement. So there are three different types of leisuring. So there's active, passive, and social. The active is the physical or mental part, which would include like running, hiking, swimming, hunting, things that take more of your physical capacity. And then those passive are those low effort and restful moments that you have. So those would include gardening, reading, fishing, doing puzzles, things that are very restful and you could do at your own home. And then you have the social type of leisure, which would be any interaction with other people. So that could be family dinners, game nights, you go and see movies with your friends, maybe you babysit your grandkids, and then taking a look at the benefits of leisuring. It is budget friendly, right? It doesn't take that much to find a book and go read it in your living room. It can strengthen the connections of those that you're spending time with. It actually improves your physical and mental health by kind of taking a step back, and that kind of leans into our prevents burning out. So you are able to take a step back from your busy schedule, your busy life, and take an hour or two or a couple days and things like that to kind of relax and spend time finding a good balance, which leads us to our next building block of it creates balance and meaning by having those active, passive, and social leisuring times to take to ourselves in retirement. And obviously, money is tied to everything that we do in life. So I wanted to specifically talk about the financial aspects of travel and leisure in retirement. So it is important to plan, as we talked about before, but it's also good to plan your costs. And 55 to 60% of retirees feel constrained by the financial aspect that they are in or financial situation that they're in as well. And that is why financial advisors can be able to help, because we can be able to create a specialized plan to ensure that you don't spend too much too fast too early. And we we also can help you include your personal goals into your financial goals and how you can be able to afford them, kind of see where you're at. And then we have those utilizing those deals. So that's senior citizen, those are maybe Black Friday deals or those ex military deals as well. And travel agents are also a good utilization of planning. So they can be able to actually take your entire plan of where you want to go and create one for you if you don't like to pre plan beforehand. They also help you utilize those deals and see what deals are out there and help you compare and contrast the different prices of different places. And if you don't want to go through a travel agent, there's also ways to research it through yourself, doing research on where you want to go and also doing research on yourself of why you want to go there and figuring out the travel identity. And it's also always good to budget, kind of get a budget in your head, see how much you want to spend, and go from there. So discussing more about those about budgeting is I have a little couple budgeting ideas for traveling, and one would be book early. That usually the earlier you book, the less time you the less money you spend on flights. Maybe sometimes if you stay a little bit longer, they can offer deals to if you stay longer, it's actually cheaper if you were to stay the weekend. Group travel, obviously, if you were to only travel with two people and split an Airbnb of $1,000, that would be $500 per person. However, if you were to go with, let's say, 8 people, that would be around $125 per person. And another budget idea is taking a look at those discounts, points, and rewards. So if you've ever heard of either Delta Miles, or if you book a ton of cruises, you can actually get rewards or upgrades through booking them through the same cruise line. You can travel in off season. So I know if you travel in off season on cruises or even to Mexico or those warmer climates, during those off seasons, it's cheaper because not a lot of people want to be there. And so it is also less crowded, which is also a bonus. And then packing light. This is one I personally struggle with. Packing light would help you save if you're trying to not pay for a checked bag. And I wanted to also give more tips and tricks of traveling. So some travel tips are to kind of look into travel insurance. So travel insurance can help you cover your bases if anything were to get delayed, your trip were to get canceled, or any medical emergency were to arise. And then if you were to get travel insurance, the people that you get it through actually have a 24-hour customer service if anything were to happen. And so you can give them a call to update anything or maybe change the dates or get a refund. And it's always good to take a look at your health and mobility so that you can be able to do the things that are being asked on your trip. Check in 24 hours in advance when you get before your flight. So I have found this super helpful because airports are already stressful as is. And so this is just one little step that you can take off your plate is to check in 24 hours in advance. There are VPNs that you can utilize to help you find cheaper flights by connecting servers in different countries by bypassing price discrimination based on your location. So, if you have ever used VPNs for security purposes or to block out something, this is what you can utilize. You can utilize some of those for specific travels so that you can find cheaper hotels, flights, things like that by bypassing price discrimination based on your location because it blocks out your location. And then you can put on your incognito mode, which prevents those pop ups of if you were to search something in Safari, it could pop up on your Instagram or your Facebook. And then using those specific country apps. So when traveling to another country where they don't speak English or you have to book transportation and you have to communicate with those people booking their transportation, it's good to download and see if there are specific country apps where they can help you either get to where you want to go or speak to the people you need to speak with. And it's always good to use those local ATMs/banks. So let your bank know that you are traveling so that your cards don't get frozen. And then it's also good to use those local ATMs because they can provide a safer and more secure use than the ones that are just outside in the middle of nowhere. And I wanted to also discuss some tech tools, so technology tools that you can utilize on your trip. And the first one is that they're apps. So there are specific apps that can help you with language or traveling, trying to get around. And some examples of that would be Duolingo or Google Translate. Some of the transportation apps that are good to utilize also are those All Trails or Apple Maps or Google Maps. There is another app for photo sharing. So if you have either Google Photos or Apple Photos, you can actually upload to a shared album. And with those you're traveling with, you can all upload it to that shared album to share all the photos that you guys took on that trip. And there are also apps to help with itineraries. If you're someone who's like, okay, we want to be here at this time, and then we want to have lunch at this time. And an example of an itinerary app that you can use is called TripIt. So not only it can help you with the times, it can also help you with the locations of maybe the days of like day one we want to go here, day two we want to go here, day three we want to spend at a lake or a pool or the ocean. And then there's also apps that can help you with packing. So an example would be a packing list that you can kind of cross off as you are going somewhere new, that they can be able to come up with ideas of things that you should pack and the time that you're going. So whether you should pack warmer clothes or cooler clothes. And a specific app for packing would be called PackPoint. Then there's those navigation tools that I also previously discussed, which would help you figure out where to go and maybe the best transportations to take. One specific is called Road Trippers. This can helps you utilize the roads that are around you and where they lead to, and how that can be very beneficial to you when you are somewhere where you've never been before. And go to those direct websites. So going to direct websites help you not get scammed. And if it's too good to be true, it probably is a scam as well. And I wanted to specifically dive into AI, artificial intelligence. There's a specific website that you can go to that is called ChatGPT, and you can actually play around with it. It's super fun, and they can actually help you plan your entire trip. If you are, for example, if you're spending one day in Paris, France, you could go to ChatGPT, and then you would just enter in, I'm spending one day at Paris, France. What are the best places to eat? Where are the best sites to go see? What transportation should I use? And how much is everything going to cost me? So that is a very good tool to utilize, since we are now incorporating artificial intelligence in more and more things that we are doing. And I wanted to mention just a recap of figuring out your travel identity, making sure to take time for yourself by relaxing a little bit, and then planning, utilizing those planning ideas and time that you take and set aside to plan for your trip so that you don't spend more money, you don't waste time, and also utilize the tools that are out there and the research that we have nowadays to figure out your trip and just enjoy the best moments of traveling in retirement. So I just wanted to thank you guys for all being here, and I appreciate your time, and I hope that you guys all get to travel in your retirement and go spend your flexible schedules doing what you want to do. So thank you and have a great day.